I see him mainly in the beard, I'm gonna be honest. We're not live yet, so I can say whatever I want.
Yeah.
You guys know I'm weird, so.
Even
I
we,
like to say quirky.
There you
Quirky
go.
is like cute weird. This is all in two, right?
gosh,
No, it's really in there too, I bet. Just maybe.
no, it's for the
Lori, is
live
this for the
stream.
pile just me?
No, it's both, it's both.
Is it saying that it's live? All right, now it's,
We're
There's
in?
some things that require everybody.
Yeah. We'll work. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We're gonna first do a roll call.
Mrs. Petropoulos.
I'm here.
Mrs. Lebuzik, absent. Mrs. Lammle, absent. Mrs. Grove. Here. Mr. Medina.
Here.
Mrs. Bergen.
Here.
And Mrs. Schroeder. Here.
All right, so pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then maybe a introduction of guests.
yeah, so we have our admin team, minus Mr. Hilligans, who is sick right now. We also have Bonnie Kunster, I'm assuming representing Korea, and then Lisa Lockwood and Nancy Casper. So thank you guys for joining us this evening.
And then there's gonna be a little nugget of difference. We need to nominate a secretary pro temp.
I nominate Joanna.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
Second.
There you go.
Okay, Mrs. Lebuzik, absent. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
And Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye, 2.0 donations to the district. So this is a potential board action to approve pens, markers and highlighters donated to Ridge Central valued at $500.
Yeah, so this is, we valued it at over $500. We'd like to thank Antonio Medina and his family for donating it to Ridge Central. But because the board has to approve anything over $500 donation, we thought that this should get approved.
I'll second.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Abstain.
Ms. Schroeder. Aye. And Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye. 3.0 approval of the consent agenda. I'm going to read all this or we're good. Can I get a motion? I'll make a motion. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye. Okay, 4.0 superintendent's report.
Yeah, so welcome back. It's always fun to do the first board meeting of the year after we have started school, because you get to kind of see how everything's been going. And I talked to a lot of administrators, a lot of teachers that said from a student perspective, it got off to one of the smoothest starts we've had in a while, which is always really nice to hear. So it's just, obviously, we've got a lot of things going on with a new ELA curriculum, some new special ed classrooms that we're working on. But we've been really happy with how things are going. And we do have PTA, unlike last year where we were kind of waiting for the PTA to get started because we had a couple people who were stepping into new roles and volunteer. This year, they're going to step off right away and get started. Our first thing will be the bingo night over at Ridge Central. That will be, I think it's September 19th. And then we have also the movie night, which they're still deciding. It's definitely going to be at Finley. We're still trying to figure out if it's going to be at Central or Lawn. A couple of the activities are going to be moved over to Ridge Lawn this year just because they're trying to space it out and even it out a little bit more. But they pretty much have a calendar ready to go. And so I have our upcoming district events that we started at the end of last year for people to sign up if they're interested in. Right now, it's a lot of PTA events. As we move in through the year, it'll be a lot more school-sponsored events, but I will start it over here with Mrs. Birkin and then kind of move it over that way. As I said, with our school department reports, you just kind of see some of the pictures from the first days of school. Just a lot of smiling faces. And kind of going into the enrollment report, I think it's important to know that we are at 60 more students than we were at this time last year. Which is pretty significant. I think it was 34 more than we were at the end of the year. and then 60 from the beginning. So that's something to watch, especially as I talk to some other local districts, which are seeing the exact opposite happen, where they're down 200-300 students in districts similar to our size. So it's just something to really watch. Class sizes, I know over at Ridge Lawn, our second grade classrooms are really large. They're at, I think, 27 right now while we're waiting for a few people. And we have some of those bigger ones across the district that we just have to continuously watch for. But that's kind of on us to watch it, and we'll report out if we see them get any larger. Vacant positions and possible staffing needs. We are still looking for a junior high bilingual Spanish teacher. We are still looking for a special ed teacher at Findlay. We had a contractual that you will actually approve tonight. She did resign, and hers was resigning, I was told, because she wants to go to the high school. And for a contractual person, they get a lot more flexibility than they would if they were a teacher. They also don't get some of the other things that our teachers would get, but those are some of the things. And then tonight we are hoping to approve a speech and language pathologist due to the very high numbers that just, you see that everywhere right now. You're just seeing, especially coming in from early intervention, the numbers are just really high. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But 4.5, again, our updates. Just really, we are seeing a lot of students transfer in, a few transferred out, but we're up 60 students, and just kind of working and getting the feel for our new special ed rooms, like cross-categorical rooms, just understanding exactly some of the needs that are in there and adjusting accordingly. I will say our admin and our teachers have been working extremely hard. The processes didn't seem to change like they have over the last few years. Just adjusting from COVID and then back. And so we're at the same place, like third year in a row of the same process. And so teachers kind of just jumped in and did what needed to be taken care of, and we appreciate that. 4.6 is a submitted grants. This is Kathy's favorite time of the year, and our administrators who get to fill these out. Just for those of you who aren't too familiar with some of these, the Title I is a low income grant, and we use that really to pay for a lot of our paraprofessional salaries, along with 2 out of the 3 of our parent liaisons. And anything that happens to be left over in that, we've usually put towards replacing the student Chromebooks. And then we have Title II, which is professional development. And really, we use this money for times that teachers go to professional development outside the school day and are getting paid for that. A lot of that comes out of the Title II money. Title III is EL instruction. That is for EL tutoring and PD for teachers, along with some online subscriptions and some family engagement materials. I know we shared earlier, but we have increased the amount of parent classes now in our partnership with District 122. Caroline has really been spearheading this effort. But now, not only do we have evening classes, which work for a lot of people, we're also going to start running daytime classes at the Chicago Ridge Library. So I appreciate her work on that. How many did we say we already have signed up for that?
14.
So, and I was asking, like, what is kind of the breakdown in terms of language? You said about half Spanish and half Arabic. So there's obviously the need, and I'm really glad that we've been able to partner with 122 for this. So,
Well, and hopefully when some people come, they'll speak to community members and friends and relatives, and it'll open it up to show what a positive program it is.
yeah. And then we have the early childhood preschool for all. The majority of this money is used for both teacher and professional salaries and benefits, along with anything directly related to the preschool for all program. And then finally, we have the IDEA flow through and IDEA pre-K. And really, this helps support tuition costs that when we send someone to the co-op or to another offsite placement, we do get some reimbursement from the state back to help cover that tuition cost. So those are the grants that you will be asked to approve later on. 4.7, our junior high outdoor education field trip. This is something the district has been doing for a very, very long time. There's a chance for our 6th graders to do an overnight trip. And those who go, I think, are extremely positive about it because it's an it's out of state and it's overnight. It's something that in our board policy that has to be approved every year. And 2 years ago, we were down to 29 students who were going. We also, just the way the dates fell, it ended up being during Eid. So last year, we really made sure that the dates were better. We jumped that up to 34. And I was talking with Mrs. Petropoulos, whose, I believe, son went last year, and she had a really good idea of, it's great when teachers talk it up, but it's even better if we can have some of the former students who went and to go into the classrooms and have like a little, here are the pictures, a little slideshow, and just kind of talk about what a great experience it was. Because I know it's a very valuable thing for the people who can go, and there will be some people who, no matter what, for whatever reason, aren't going to go. But for those kids who are on the fence, I think it can be very powerful having kids come in and talk to them and get them going. So the board will be asked to approve that later on, and I would strongly recommend that we do. And then finally, for me, I have my annual IASA Superintendent's Conference down in good old Springfield. I will be down there for 3 nights. I'm doing my admin academy, which is required every year to get one of those in. So I'll get that done on Wednesday morning, and then I'll be there through Friday at lunchtime before heading back. I find it very valuable, not only for the sessions, but really the networking part and getting to find out what other superintendents are doing that maybe we can steal from them, or they always steal stuff from us as well. So it's that I find very valuable, and really appreciate being supported and going down there. And then I'll get to answer all my emails at night. So that is all I have, unless anyone has any questions for me. And if not, I will turn it over to our curriculum director, Mrs. Nothnagel.
So 5.1, wanted to update the board on our first month of the HMH in creating and into literature resources that we purchased last year. On the second Institute Day, all K-8 teachers attended professional development directly from the company on how to use that resource, the online side of things to really navigate and know how. And then K-5 teachers spent the other half of that day with myself and our outside consultant partner, Kelly Dobak, on the district guidance for the resource and also evidence-based practices for teaching and learning in an English language arts classroom. So that was the entire day with K-5, and then 6-8, I had been meeting with them over the summer to do some of that learning. They came in for a day with Kelly Dobak. They worked with her last year as well. So they had some foundational understanding of that, and then spent the time working on that resource their other half of the day. So it has definitely been a lot of collaborative conversations since then with the administrative team, with the teachers, with teacher teams. We've met after great questions were asked, whether it be about those evidence-based practices or about the guidance from the district on how to implement or what to implement for that resource. We've met the administrative team, we came together and met with certain grade levels. They're asking questions, the teachers are asking questions, the administrative team is asking questions. So a lot of collaboration to make sure that the success of this resource or the rollout of this resource is successful. And we'll continue to do that. The administrative team is going to do instructional walkthroughs and then be able to talk about where we need to provide professional learning further, in what areas specifically, so we can make sure that it's meeting the needs of the teachers with the resource. And then 5.2, I do have another. I just wanted to just update the community, the board, about the after school programs. Those will be starting here very soon. We do host academic after school and activities. The teachers are the ones who really come up with what activities we host. And so I'd just like to share some of those options that I think get our kids excited, as Dr. Thorns often talks about, getting those kids engaged and here and enjoying it. So obviously, the teacher created ones. Some examples from the buildings were a musical, Lion King Junior musical club after school, the intramurals and tech club, Saturn ball, a video game, origami, crocheting and quilting for beginners. Another one called Retro Game Club. And then obviously district supported ones like Leader in Me, Young Rembrandts, and Chess Club. So those will be coming, information's been sent out from buildings, myself for Leader in Me over the last couple of weeks, and we'll continue to communicate with everybody.
Will you be able to watch the one to play?
I'm going to have to default that question to the building.
Everybody's going there and singing Lion King songs in honor of James Earl Jones.
So it's not a production.
Okay.
It's just learning those lines, kind of that practice of a musical. After school.
I only heard Saturn Ball.
I know.
That's all.
I didn't hear silent.
It's on here. I didn't want to spend too much time on the long list
Yeah.
of things. I could share those, that list with, the board if they want, but I just. Yes.
What is that?
So Where in the World is Miss Hammond is a, club that is hosted by a teacher that takes students to different countries and learns about their culture. Like Where in the World is from San Diego. So you have to go.
Is that gonna be
for-
Miss Hammond?
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
wanted to make sure.
Curler beads. Curler beads, I believe, it's an art process of laying down little beads in designs. And
Those
then
little diamonds with the
iron-
stick? Oh.
Iron, that's official. Yes, so quite a variety, among each of the buildings, Finley, yes. Yes.
Wonderful.
And not for the younger ones, but this will be our first year at the junior high. We will have a soccer team in the conference. It is being done on a trial basis. I believe it's just 2 games, like on a Friday or Saturday. So each team in the conference is going to do that on a trial basis, because that is something kids have really been asking for. And I know Mr. Youngberg has kind of been pushing that in charge of athletics. So we're hoping it will be very successful this year and broaden out to a longer season at some point. So, yeah.
Asking for? That's all I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah. When are we doing it? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So we're
It's a much
excited.
More popular, like, intramural that kids do outside of school than it was like 10
Let's
years
do.
ago.
Yeah.
So, that's great.
All right.
I had a question. So how is the staff feedback? I know we're only in a few weeks about the new ELA program. Like, how is it like starting, going off? Is there positive, one negative, like, is it going well?
Yeah, so I don't have obviously that specific question to give you
Okay,
actual data, but from what I've heard.
I'll take what I heard. I
Okay.
mean, I don't need like numbers and charts
Okay,
and graphs. Like,
So there was a
there's no
lot of.
math for me today.
There was a lot of positive feedback after that Institute Day. Because HMH has a lot of resources. The district, the administrative team, myself created a list of what curriculum, systematic curriculum we want the teacher, what parts of the curriculum we want them to use.
Okay,
And then specified specifically what assessment we want them to be using, and then what they may use. And there was a lot of great feedback on, thank you for doing that, because that really helped us focus on what we needed to.
well, it's
be
like
able-
UBD, understanding by design, the targets are set up. And then they still have the academic freedom to get them.
Yes, and that's exactly how we presented it. And we talked about the district will provide you the systematic what, the curriculum. Now you finally get the opportunity to teach the how. You get to design how you administer, how you present that lesson to that, because it's a creative, I might teach very differently than someone, across the hallway from me. So we did hear some really great feedback on that. And since then, we've had feedback from teachers who have administered some of these weekly assessments and seen the kids learning and growing and the quantitative data that's telling us that this is, the right direction that we should be going in.
I
So-
mean, just sometimes like in the beginning, I didn't know what the feel was. It's hard to transition into something new. Even a new teacher, it's hard with someone who's like kind of has their set, so.
Yeah,
it's
and
good to hear.
I did ask the,
I know they had a
staff-
lot of training and stuff. I was just, a new school year is hard already, but then having brand new curriculum is also like another level of pressure on everyone,
I think
so.
they're really invested.
Okay, sounds good. Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Nahagel. And now the reason we're all here tonight.
Yeah.
Kathy's budget report. You want it on the board.
Okay, well, thank you for coming to see the budget presentation. So, obviously, the start of the
unmute it.
school year, we just started the new fiscal budget for the 25 school year. And we always talk about what is a budget, and it's our financial roadmap for our fiscal responsibilities to the district. And we're going to talk about the beginning and ending cash balances, along with the cash receipts and the cash. The components of the revenues are our state
federal and local sources, and we'll talk about those a little bit more in detail. And our expenses are our salaries and benefits. We have our purchase services, we have our supplies, and then we have capital outlay and then other. So we always talk about evidence-based funding, and evidence-based funding is our largest source of our revenue, and that is the revenue we get directly from the state of Illinois. We are still considered a tier 1 school, which is a school most in need. It is likely that next year we will maybe fall into tier 2, which could potentially mean less funding, but it also means we're getting closer to our adequacy targets. Right now, we're at a 69% target. Last year's base funding was about 13.4 million. This year, we are getting another $1 million, so our total EBF funding for this year is going to be $14.4 million. Other sources of state revenue are our regular and special education transportation reimbursement, as we call our categoricals. Those come every quarter. And they actually have been coming every quarter. Last year, we were fully funded by the state. We also have a special education private facility tuition and orphanage grant that we get every year. Our state free lunch and breakfast is very minor. It's not our big national school lunch program. And then we have the early childhood block grant. In total, the other state resources are about $1.6 million.
Can I ask you a quick question
Of course.
before you move on? I know you probably have a question session, but I'll forget.
No.
I wrote it down, but I'll still forget. If we move to tier 2, does that impact lunches?
No, the National School Lunch Program is based on our level of low income.
Okay, I didn't
And-
know if that like correlated.
No,
I was
great
curious.
question. No, we would still be in that program.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
no, of course. Okay, other sources of revenue, our big local are our property taxes. This year, we anticipated to receive about $8.1 million from our local sources of revenue. We have interest on investments, which is those monies that are in the fund balances, return some investments on us. And then corporate personal replacement taxes, and then just some miscellaneous other fees. In total, it's 8.9 million, but obviously 8.1 is from property taxes. Okay, so now federal sources of revenue, Dr. Thorns kind of went through the gamut on that. We have our Title I, our Title II, and our Title III. We have our IDA flow through and preschool grants. Here's where the National School Lunch, Breakfast, and Program comes in. And then I did throw on here ESSER 3 because we were able to expend resources at the end of the last quarter. And there is a timing difference on when we get reimbursed from the feds. So we will benefit that money in the first quarter of FY25 from the last quarter of last year. And then absolutely, that will be our last revenue source from all of those funds. So in total, it's still 3.8 million, but about $1 million of that is from those expenditures from last year.
And to clarify, ESSER's done then after this.
ESSER
That's
is
what
done.
That's what I thought. I was
Yes.
surprised to see it. Okay.
Yes, so we did every single ESSER expense that we had last year, we had to incorporate into this year's operating budget. And so whatever money we get out of that 3.8 million, those relate to last year's expenditures. Okay, revenue by source, it's just a simple pie graph where you can see where we're getting our 20.8 million. It's cut off for some reason, but on my screen it looked good. Evidence-based funding is now 50%. So the state of Illinois is giving us 50%. So we just always hope we stay on track because that's a huge source of our revenue. Okay, in terms of expenses, I already mentioned them, salaries, employee benefits, purchase services. Purchase services are things that we have to purchase, we can't do ourselves. It's not a tangible item, it's a maintenance contract, things like that. And capital can be non-capital, which are items between $1,000 and $500, or they can be the $3 million additions. Okay, so expenses by fund, And when I say fund, we have our education fund, our O&M fund, our IMRF fund. So this just gives you the expenses in percentages. Obviously, a school district, you're not surprised that 82% of our expenditures come directly from our educational fund. And those are mostly going to be our salaries and benefits. So out of the 28.6 million, 23.6 million comes out of the educational fund. Expenses by objects, again, no surprise, salaries is 48%. When you add the benefits of 9%, that's 57% of every expenditure we have goes to salaries and benefits. And then we have purchase services, about 15%, supplies, 6%, our capital is about 6%, and then we have other at about 15%. And in that other, I always like to explain that that is our tuition for our private school education, because when you hear other 15%, it's pretty material. And also our bond payments come out of those accounts. Okay, so in case you're a number person and you wanted to see it dollar for dollar rather than in a picture, here are all the expenditures and the percentages by classification. And this slide is new from last year. It's a new required public act that we have to disclose this information. It's Public Act 1030394. And basically, the reason we have to present this slide is the state of Illinois wants to know we are not overextending our levy, asking for too much money in our budget. So the main gist of this slide is that line at the bottom that I circled, the 1.46. In a nutshell, what we look at is we look at our last 3 years of expenditures on average, which is about $21.4 million. Then we needed to compare that to our projected fund balance. And so when you do the math there, it's saying that we have about 1.46 in fund balances as compared to our operating expenditures. Okay, just something very formal now that we do have to present not only to the Board of Education, to our community as well. And this we have always done, but this did start last year as well. This is our fund balance summary. And what we're projecting, we started the year with a $31.2 million. And at the end of the year, we are projecting $31.4 million. You can see all our sources of revenue by fund and then our uses. So overall, we're projecting an increase in fund balance of $205,000. And we're hoping to end the year at that 31.46. Does anybody have any questions? Anything? Okay, so then the board will be asked to approve that later in the evening.
Right, thank you.
Okay, so if you didn't hear enough,
All right, well.
it looks a lot worse than it is. Thank you, Lori. Oh, okay, a few other things on the agenda, and really they're housekeeping items that we're required to do. 6.2 is a contract renewal for Illinois Energy Consortium, and that is our supplier of energy. The board does have that at their places today because those rates fluctuates daily. So we'd be asking the board to approve actually and lock in a 2-year agreement on that. 6.3 and 6.4 are annual compensation reports that we need to disclose, and those will also be on the website. The first one is administrators' compensation, and the second one is IMRF salaries in total that are in excess of $75,000. 6.5 is another teacher and administrator report from last year that we are required to disclose and put on the website. 6.6, our transportation claim. We get money from the state for transporting our students back and forth. And every year we have to certify the hazardous bus routes. There has been no change, but we will take action on that later. And then finally, 6.7, the school-sponsored activities list. Every year we run that by our building principals, and they do a great job at updating that and presenting it to the board for approval. Any questions on any of that? Okay, thank you.
6.8 other. 7.0 old business.
I'm going into it.
All right. 7.1, potential board action to adopt or post for a second reading the following policies.
Yes, if you remember, these are the 5 policies that really had to do with the Title IX changes by the federal government. We did go through our training this past week. It was riveting. So we do need to adopt these. It's one of those that we have to.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 7.2, potential board action to approve a memorandum of understanding with Easter Seals for the pre-kindergarten program.
Yes, we talked
about
about this last time. We just didn't approve it. So
Okay.
yeah, this is required
need a-
again by the state.
I'll second. Thank you.
Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 7.3, potential board action to approve and adopt a resolution appointing a trustee to serve on the Worth Township Trustee of Schools.
So I thought I got out of it, and the board had approved Kathy at the last meeting. I guess we didn't think it was an issue. I still don't think it's an issue, but Kathy has 2 family members who work for the township. So the township believes that it is an issue. So if any board member would like to do it, you are more than welcome to. If not, I will serve on the township board.
Motion has to stay in.
So
Yes.
someone then
I
would
will
have.
make a motion for Dr. Storms to be our representative.
I will
Thanks, Laura.
second it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
And Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 7.4 other, 8.0 new business, so 8.1 is going to be the annual budget hearing for the Chicago Ridge Public School District, 127.5. And so that is for the fiscal year 24-25 budget, and then my opening
You are
it
opening
now,
here, yeah.
okay, all right, so it's, yeah, so I'm gonna pound the gavel, I got it, okay, so there. I'm opening the hearing at 7:03 PM. Is there anyone who would like to address the board regarding the fiscal year 25 budget for the Chicago Ridge School District 127.5? I gotta say it 3 times, folks. Is there anyone who would like to address the board regarding the fiscal year 25 budget for the Chicago Ridge School District 127.5? Is there anyone who would like to address the board regarding the fiscal year 25 budget for the Chicago Ridge School District 127.5? The hearing's now closed at 7:03 PM. All right, so then 8.2 is the potential board action to adopt the Chicago Ridge School District 127.5 fiscal year 24-25 budget. I'll make the motion. Thank you.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 8.3, consideration of a resolution ratifying the issuance of not to exceed 31, what? $3,150,000, thank you, of debt certificates of the Eisenhower Co-op for the purpose of improving the site of and building and equipping in addition to Spalding School for cooperative services and programs.
So if you've ever heard a lawyer speak, you know, he wrote that resolution, and not our attorney. So really what this is we are the financial agent for the co-op, just like they come for the 2 minutes of every August and they present, like we approve their budget. So we have to approve the issuance of the debt for the 2 schools who are taking out financing for the building project. It doesn't impact us in any way. We have already decided we are paying our portion upfront. That was approved at a previous meeting. But because we're the financial agent, we just have to approve this so the other two districts can get their financing.
A second.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Bergen. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. And Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 8.4 potential board action to approve the Title I, Title II, Early Childhood Preschool for All, IDEA flow through and IDEA preschool
Title III also. And Title III.
and Title III. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Mrs. Bergen, second. Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
And Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 8.5 potential board action to approve hazardous walking routes for the school year 24-25. I'll second. There.
Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
And Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 8.6 potential board action to approve school sponsored activities list now that we know what each one means. I'll second. Thank you.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mr. Medina. Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 8.7, a potential board action to approve the outdoor educational field trip for the 6th grade, per the board policy 6240. I'll second. Thank you.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. And Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 8.8, potential board action to approve contract renewal with Illinois Energy Consortium.
We're doing a 2-year contract with that. I'll make a motion, please. Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 8.9, potential board action to approve payment to Twin Supplies in the amount of $28,980. I got that one.
Mhm.
For additional work on a lighting project.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Bergen.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
And Mrs. Petracca.
Go right to 11.
Okay, so
Mrs. Petracca, I'm sorry, did you say that? Didn't
I did not,
Sorry, my-
Dr. Thorne's just distracting me. Okay, so we are jumping down to 11.0, opportunity for visitors to speak. No one wants to talk. 12.0, everyone's favorite time, president's prerogative.
Go for it.
I'm a little bit under myself today, so I'm not gonna say a lot. I did send Dr. Thorne's a message. I don't miss board meetings lightly, and I had to miss one. I did have a surgery, so I was out. But I did send him a message that he didn't get until later, but I just wanted to thank all the teachers and wish them, good luck on the start of their year. And I know that everyone is off to a great start. I was able to make it to a volleyball game last week, and it just seems like everything's going really well. I know the beginning of the year is hard. I myself am a teacher, and just getting back in swing of things, especially if you are a teacher and then a parent as well, getting your children going. So, I'm pretty sure I can speak for the board that we appreciate all the hard work that everyone is putting in, staff all across the board, admin, support staff, custodial staff, teachers, paras, everyone. So I know that getting started, but like couple weeks, it's gonna be like, we never left, we're here. So, and then before you know it, it's Christmas break and then spring break and it's summer. So we can all do this. So I appreciate everyone's hard work and diligent work. I loved when I was driving up, because I have not been driving a lot. There were some new signs out in front, like buses only, drop off, stay in your car. So I feel like there's all kinds of just good things happening across the board. I'm just really happy to see things going smoothly, to hear the great things about the new curriculum going out and, so that's it. So thanks, guys. 13.0 is adjournment to closed session.
All right, for the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this act as defined in the Open Meetings Act, Section 2C1. The discussion of collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees of the representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees as described in Section 2C2, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired as defined in Section 2C5, and the discussion of minutes of prior meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act as defined in Section 2C21 for the purpose of review, approval, or release of such minutes. We will not be discussing any security issues, student discipline, or pending litigation.
Looking for a motion. Thank you.
Second. Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mrs. Durkin. Aye. Mrs. Rhodes. Aye. Mr. Medina. Aye. Mrs. Petrowski.
Aye.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming.